Good afternoon. This afternoon, we have a variety of agendas on the PSM committee calendar. So we're going to start with the bills that are on our hearing calendar. And then as soon as we have quorum, we will move right into the decision-making agendas for bills that were previously heard. So with that, let us turn to the hearing calendar that we have for today, which is starting with Senate Bill 3040. And first up, I believe we have Department of Law Enforcement. Is a representative of the department here? Okay, if not, we will move to Terry Ann Mohiden, testifying on behalf of Hawaii chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense. Take your pick.
Aloha, Chair Fukunaga, Vice Chair Lee when he comes, and members of the committee. My name is Terry Ann Mohideen. I live here and I volunteer with the Hawaii chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. I urge you to support this bill. When I turn on the local news, it sounds like we have a gun violence problem. There's a shooting in a parking lot over here. There's a drive-by over there. There was a domestic violence incident involving a firearm, and now the victim is dead. There was an armed robbery nearby. There was a road rage incident with a gun. But what's the story behind these sound bites? For a couple years now, we have had a group that was trying to work on this specifically, a gun violence and violent crimes commission, but it didn't come up with any of the funding necessary to conduct research. It met a couple times and at its last meeting voted to end itself and merge into another group. One important thing that we did learn from a 2022 meeting of this commission was that in that meeting, police told them that better data could help them better respond to crime. How often is a person using a gun to commit a crime not the registered owner? Are there trends in how firearms are moving throughout our state? How many crimes were committed with licensed versus unlicensed firearms? How often are 3D printed guns or ghost guns being used in crimes? Do we have a rise in youth firearm crimes? What can be done to prevent gun violence here? Can we increase community engagement about it? Can we involve public health voices? Data is not a flashy or exciting thing, but we need an Office of Gun Violence Prevention that can get the needed data to our law enforcement in order to keep us all safer. One that is funded and set up to succeed this time. Mahalo for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Members, we have Michael Rice on Zoom, who is waiting.
Can we vote? Because we got to go back up to.
Oh, okay. We're going to recess this portion of today's hearing and we're going to go back to the decision-making agenda. The first bill on that agenda is Senate Bill 17. And for members review,
This is joint.
we did distribute the chair's decision-making recommendations earlier. This bill is relating to wildfire mitigation. It establishes the Wildfire Mitigation Working Group, requires a report to the legislature, and requires Office of Planning and Sustainable Development to provide administrative support to the working group. Chair would like to recommend that we pass this measure with amendments proposed by the PUC, Department of Land and Natural Resources, Office of State Planning, OFM, Attorney General, and Kamehameha Schools, technical non-substantive amendments, and a blank appropriation and effective date, noting that the report would be to the 2028 legislative session rather than 2027, since this bill was introduced in 2025. Members, any questions, comments? Okay, if not, Senator Inoue, if you would be so kind as to take the vote.
All right, on SB Chair's recommendation on the Public Safety and Military Affairs Committee, on to SB 17 is to pass with amendments. Chair Fukunaga.
I vote aye.
Okay. Vice Chair Lee is excused. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
Okay, I will vote aye. Lorraine Inoue, Samantha DeCourt is excused. Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Next measure on the agenda is Senate Bill 2358 relating to search and rescue. This measure was with Waterland Committee as lead. So we will defer this matter for now and turn to the third bill, Senate Bill 2730 relating.
Second. Second.
Okay. For
Okay, yeah.
2730. That one.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, this is relating to criminal justice reform. It was referred to the Committee on Public Safety, then to Judiciary, and establishes factors under which officers may arrest and detain persons without a warrant for petty misdemeanors and violations. And it requires officers to document the justifications for arrest. Chair would like to recommend that we pass with an amendment, adding a defective effective date. Members, any questions? If not, Senator Inoue, if you would take the
Okay.
vote, I vote aye.
Yes. The Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs, Chair's recommendation on SB 2730 is to pass with amendments with 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Hearing none, measure is adopted, Ms. Chair.
Thank you. The next measure, Senate Bill 2749, relating to sentencing, is another bill that we heard previously that will be going on to the Senate Judiciary Committee. It's another of those criminal justice reform measures, and Chair's recommendation is to pass this measure with a defective effective date. Any questions, comments? If not, Chair Inoue, for the vote, I vote aye.
Thank you. On Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs, Chair's recommendation to pass SB 2749 with amendments. Okay. With 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes, measure is adopted. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next measure on the agenda is Senate Bill 2688 relating to compassionate release. This measure had quite a bit of testimonies, and we know that there is still a lot of discussion that needs to occur. So Chair is recommending sort of a middle ground at this point to pass the measure with amendments to limit consideration for compassionate release to individuals with a terminal illness or too ill or cognitively impaired to participate in rehabilitation, excluding individuals who have been sentenced to life without the possibility of parole, requiring victim and prosecutor notification, and noting the need for additional staff and funding to Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to implement the program, and adequate healthcare facility placements. We also have technical non-substantive amendments and a blank appropriation and effective date.
Okay, just a second.
49.
Chair, where are we?
49.
Senate Bill 2688, which is
Yep.
Yeah.
the next
Okay.
item on
Yes.
the agenda.
Okay, and with amendments, did you say?
Correct. And yes, we know that there is still a lot of work that needs to occur on this measure. So all of the amendments that are being proposed are intended to sort of place us somewhere in the middle, but to really look towards working with both the advocates as well as those who are seeking a lot more restrictive kinds of conditions to work out their differences in the ensuing discussions. Any questions or comments? If not,
Chair's
Senator
Chair's recommendation on SB 2688 is to pass with amendments with 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Last measure on this initial agenda is Senate Bill 2798 relating to law enforcement. This makes the Agricultural Enforcement Pilot Program established under Act 235, 2025 permanent. And Chair's recommendation is that we pass this measure with a defective effective date. Any questions, comments? If not, Senator Inoue for the vote.
Chair's recommendation on SB 2798 to pass with amendments with 3 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes, measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. We'd like to next turn to agenda number 2, which includes Senate Bill 2645. It's a short form bill which is being amended to a proposed SD1 to enable further discussion on amendments to Act 302. This bill is a short form measure. It would replace 2 full-time equivalent positions for fire inspectors and 3 full-time equivalent positions for fire inspectors with 4 full-time equivalent positions for assistant fire inspectors. Did we give you the correct?
Yeah, 2645,
Voting
we got it,
is-
we got it.
Yes.
Okay,
Recommendation is what?
Well, amendment.
okay, and
Amendments.
let me just kind of backtrack a little bit. The purpose of this decision-making is to insert substantive provisions into a short form bill and to recommit the bill back to the Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs so that a public hearing can be scheduled at a later time. So I gave you the description on the bill, and the recommendation is to pass Senate Bill 2645 with amendments by inserting the provisions of the proposed SD1 into the bill. Members, any questions? Oh, and to recommit to the Committee on Public Safety and Military Affairs. Okay,
Chair's recommendation on SB 2645 is to pass with amendments with 3 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
okay, thank you very much, members. We're going to return now to the
Sure.
hearing agenda.
Versus general.
Oh, we have 2 more.
3 more. 133 is 175.
Oh, okay. 23. Okay, my apologies, member. I skipped over 3 bills on the first agenda. The next bill on that first agenda was Senate Bill 2383. And this one was relating to law enforcement. It requires the Department of Law Enforcement to provide a 15,000 retention bonus to all eligible sworn law enforcement officers. And we had 2 measures that the committee previously reported out. We subsequently learned that this measure was a duplicate, so we are reconsidering to hold this bill in committee. Okay. Next on the agenda is Senate Bill 2575 relating to firearms. And this was one of the measures that we have distributed a proposed SD1 to the members.
Is it right? You could see that. So we need to take a vote, Chair, on 23.
Are you
Oh,
voting or are
okay.
you deferring?
Should
Well,
defer.
you guys voted on it already. So
Okay.
you guys are reconsidering your original action to pass.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so the
That's the
vote
vote.
is to hold.
But you need to take a vote, Madam Chair.
Okay,
All right, okay.
thank you, Senator Inoue.
Okay, all right. Chair's recommendation on SB 2383 is to pass with amendments. However, we will be voting on holding this measure with 3 members present. Any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. For Senate Bill 2575 relating to firearms. This bill was heard, I believe, on January 28th or February 2nd. And we have distributed a proposed SD1 to the members, which establishes mandatory minimum terms of imprisonment for certain Class A felonies involving firearms. The clarifications that the SD1 draft makes is to kind of clarify the possession of illegal substances such as methamphetamine and a few other clarifying conditions. So in the discussion that we had, I believe this issue was brought up. So members, are there any questions?
Your recommendation?
Recommendation is to pass with amendments to adopt the SD1 draft that you have before you.
Chair's recommendation on SB 2575 to pass with amendments with 3 members present. Any voting with reservations? Any no votes? Hearing none, Vice Chair for the, yes,
I vote yes.
yes, okay. The measure is adopted with 3 members present.
Okay, the last bill on this first agenda is Senate Bill 2720 relating to firearms. This measure established a Hawaii Firearm Injury Restitution Fund funded by licenses to firearm manufacturers as a condition of market participation. It's kind of like a no-fault fund that would help pay for medical injuries suffered by victims. And we have proposed an SD1 that clarifies the scope of the fund and the injuries that are received to better classify, those that would be eligible for this assistance.
Oh, I got the voting again.
Chair's recommendation on SB 2720 is to pass with amendments. Okay, with 3 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes? Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, turning back to the 3 p.m. hearing schedule, we were on Senate Bill 3040, and we had last heard from Hawaii Chapter Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in Hawaii. So, Mr. Rice, thank you for waiting patiently. Please proceed.
Aloha. Mike Rice speaking in opposition against this bill. Commissions like these are always stacked against guns and lawful gun owners. Anti-gun groups always dominate and get positions from these groups. They always twist statistics and facts to their liking. Like how I'm sure you've kept hearing the leading cause of death in children is guns, when that's been disproven. And then they've had to change the leading cause of death of children and teens. Of course, they always say in teens quietly. And there's even been times when these anti-gun groups have gone against, good programs like was something called the Oakland ceasefire, which reduced gun violence in Oakland by 50% while it was active. And in 9 other cities where it was tried, it reduced it from 30 to 60%. Now, Giffords Law Center is credited with ending the Oakland ceasefire early. And then a lot of rumor and speculation has been because it reduced gun violence so much without having to pass any new gun laws or having to do any confiscations or any buybacks. They did this by having youth outreach programs for at-risk youth and mentorship programs, as well as targeted enforcement against gang members. And, I'm not saying overnight, but within a year, 50% reduction. I'm sure if I told you I could reduce the homelessness by 50%, you'd want to hear what I have to say, unless it was something like a modest proposal. Let's see, I believe that's all I wanted to add. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rice. Next, we have testifying on Zoom, Jason Walford. Is Mr. Walford present?
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Chester Holt on Zoom,
Also not available on Zoom, Chair.
Kyla Rink on Zoom,
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Jerry Ewan on Zoom. Is Mr. Ewan present on Zoom?
Currently unavailable on Zoom.
Okay. Next, we have Kevin Cole on
Oh,
Zoom.
excuse me, Chair. He is present on Zoom.
Okay. Please proceed, Mr. Ewan.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, I'm Jerry Ewan from the Pulo Rifle and Pistol Club. So, what I don't like about this bill, it usually paints violence in general as belonging to just guns. So this committee now is going to become a office with a director. specifically looking at guns, and this will not reduce violent crime in the least. You're looking in the wrong place when you're looking at violent crime. It's not the guns, it's more the socioeconomic factors, and that's what people need to look into. Many of these crimes that have been done with guns are usually done by criminals who are repeat offenders. And most police officers will tell you, if you can get these people off the street and put them away, they won't reoffend until they get out again. Problem is, it's a catch and release kind of thing they've been doing. So once somebody gets arrested, they get processed, they give them a court date, they let them go. What I'm saying is, you have to look at holistically and not just at the guns. Also, this commission, which was made, was it 3-4 years ago? Nobody reached out to the gun community to take part in this commission, even though part of that commission's charter was they were supposed to have representation from the gun community. So Hawaii Firearms Coalition, HIFICO, and the HRA, Hawaii Rifle Associations, I don't believe either of them were contacted regarding taking part of this committee. Subject to your questions.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. Next, we have Kevin Cole on Zoom as well.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Clayton Kubo on Zoom.
Also not present on Zoom, Chair.
John Terry in person. Okay, if not, Dennis Dunn on Zoom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Fukunaga and members of the committee. I'm testifying as an individual today, and in large part from my experience of almost 50 years of working with crime victims. The recent incidents of gun violence in Hawaii have shaken our complacency as a location that has seen little of the extremes of gun violence that plague continental U.S. As we in Hawaii struggle to develop effective strategies to stem the growing tide of gun violence, we need to cross disciplinary data, policy development to serve as a basis for a proactive gun violence prevention measure. The Office of Gun Violence Prevention is envisioned as a primary source. Data gathering and analysis can provide the governor, state departments, the legislature with the needed leadership to effectuate legislation and policies that aimed at reducing gun violence in Hawaii. The gun violence, obviously is devastating for the victims and their families, but it affects all of us. And contrary to some of the concerns of those who oppose this measure, the purpose of the office is to eliminate gun violence, not guns. And secondly, a lot of the complaints that I've heard are about the previous commission, which we're doing away with. So we're setting up a new office, clean slate, and the focus is on gun violence. All of us can participate and appreciate the need to do that and work together. So I thank you for the opportunity to testify. Please allow us to have this new important tool to assist in our struggle to eliminate gun violence in Hawaii, and vote to support Senate Bill 3040. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dunn. I believe we now have Jason Wolford available. Please proceed, Mr. Wolford. Are you Jerry?
No, this is Jason Wolford.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jason Wolford.
Yes. I'm testifying today, as Jerry has stated, this commission, this new commission is, duplicating. There's no real oversight for this, is my opposition. And the fact that the members of the community that were supposed to be involved in this, as well as the firearms community, is not going to have any say in this. And this leaves one committee with no oversight or input from anybody in the firearms community. It creates too much bureaucracy and just lack of oversight, I feel. that it's redundant, it's not needed. I understand the gun violence situation and things that the police do try and work with. I think resources would be better off spent funding law enforcement and giving them the tools they need rather than a bureaucracy to solve this problem and help with it. So that's my opposition to this.
Okay, thank you very much for your testimony. I believe we have one other individual waiting to testify. Can you identify yourself, please? I think you're on mute. Can you turn on your your audio?
How's that?
Okay, welcome.
Okay,
Please
I feel
identify
welcome.
yourself.
Without reiterating too much what others have said, I'm in opposition to this bill because I feel that the commission as it stands does appropriately address violence in general. It has a whole group of professionals, all of them with law backgrounds or backgrounds that would involve public safety. If we were to change what this commission is into the Office of Gun Violence Prevention, I would worry that what has happened in California would be the same outcome here in Hawaii, where the director there in California is actually Ari Freilich, I think is his name, who came directly from Giffords, which if that were to be the case here in Hawaii, that would mean that our tax dollars as firearm owners would be going to a well-known, let's say, gun control group, but they often call themselves gun violence prevention. I don't think we need to focus only on gun violence, and I would feel that this group or Office of Gun Violence Prevention would have very little oversight, as far as I've read the bill, and be allowed to hire who they would prefer as their statisticians and their grant writers. And I don't necessarily know if our tax dollars need to be going to maybe a slush fund for a gun violence prevention group and or gun control group, depending on how you look at it. Furthermore, these groups are well known for passing gun laws that are unconstitutional, and our state is spending currently millions of dollars defending its laws. Some of these laws, as with the Wolford versus Lopez case before the Supreme Court, uses black codes and or
Thank you.
codes from,
You have
that's it.
reached
All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All righty. Okay, is there anyone else who would like to testify on Senate Bill 3040? We received 41 testimonies in support, 77 in opposition, and 0 with comments. If you have comments you'd like to propose, please come forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Jay Franzone. I study violence and how to prevent it at Johns Hopkins University, speaking in my personal capacity. We hear a lot about how gun violence is preventable, and it is. We also know that it costs a lot of money, right? We know that an office could cost a lot of money too. But in the reality, gun violence is already costing us a lot of money. It costs taxpayers of Hawaii $19 million per year, and that's just borne by taxpayers. Cost by private citizens and by the state is $901 million per year. And so it's important when we think about the investment to prevent violence, making that small investment, whatever that office is, we're already paying $19 million per year.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, if there are no other testifiers on this measure, we will turn next to Senate Bill 3107. This is relating to parole eligibility. First up, we have Office of the Public Defender, Ili Cheng.
Good morning, Chair Fukunaga. My name is Healy Chang. I'm the first deputy of the Office of the Public Defender. We did submit testimony in support, but I do want to clarify the basis for our support, which we did outline in our written testimony. And it is specific mainly to the notion and the provision that allows the Hawaii Paroling Authority to waive participation in certain programs if deemed appropriate. And I want to just briefly explain why that provision is so important. Time and time again, the Office of the Public Defender, who does represent people in parole matters at all stages of the parole proceedings, we will see people come up for their time to be considered for parole and they have not been able to complete program requirements. Some of that, of course, is on them. But oftentimes we hear that they are waiting to be waiting on the list to get to a program. So we do want to encourage the committee to pass this measure specifically with the language that allows the HPA to waive certain programming requirements. And we did propose an amendment to the language, which we believe captures better the intent and spirit of that provision. And I will remain available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Hawaii Paroling Authority, Mr. DeMello.
Afternoon, Chair. My name's
Good
Corey Rink.
afternoon.
I'm the Administrator of the Hawaii Parole Authority, standing in for Gene DeMello Jr., our Chairman. I'm just going to summarize our testimony.
Okay.
The benefits of requiring substance abuse, mental health, and/or work furlough include a gradual transition with improved stability and readiness for release on parole. It facilitates secured housing, employment, and increased financial stability. HPA has seen better outcomes with parolees released after completing these programs. It also provides gradual resocialization and reunification with family and community members and provides a seamless transition from incarceration to parole. Additionally, the proposed amendment allows the board to waive these programs for inmates who have an employment history and/or completed the treatment programs in the past. And I'll be available for any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. Ms. Director Johnson or his designee. If not, next we have OHA. Let's see, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, McKenna Woodward. Next, we have on behalf of Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission, Kristen Johnson or Chair Patterson.
Hello, Chair. I'm Kristen Johnson. I'm the Oversight Coordinator of the Hawaii Correctional System Oversight Commission. The Commission actually submits testimony in opposition of this bill. I know it seems very bizarre that our Oversight Commission would potentially be what appears to be against programming and require participation. But the reality is that we're really concerned that this bill will actually unintentionally keep more people incarcerated. We agree with everything that the Hawaii Paroling Authority had said, that we know that these programs are impactful. We are supportive of furlough. Our biggest concern is the access to these programs. And if people are required to complete them before being able to be paroled, but the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation isn't placing people in these programs, they're not going to get paroled. And so we just wanted to, bring that to your attention. An example of this is that we have noted that at least as of January 28th, 2026, there were 60 individuals who are classified as community status who would be eligible for furlough placement, who are not in furlough placement. In addition to that, there were 238 individuals classified as minimum custody who are housed in, again, higher level facilities, which is not in accordance to policy or the reentry law 353H. And so our biggest concern is that this will unintentionally keep more people incarcerated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next we have, let's see, I believe Director Johnson, Department of Corrections for your testimony. Okay, thank you. Let's see, is there anyone else who would like to provide testimony on Senate Bill 3107? Okay, if not, I'm going to ask Director Johnson and let's see. Perhaps Hawaii Correctional Oversight Commission, Kristen Johnson, to return. It seems as though we are, seeking to achieve the same goals in many respects, of moving people through the system more rapidly. And I guess Director Johnson, the statistics that the Oversight Commission presented in its testimony seems to indicate that there's currently a barrier, in qualifying for the programs that would enable an inmate to qualify for parole consideration. Can your department comment on, how you see that particular set of I guess, individuals who have not yet been able to, access programs from which they would be eligible to achieve parole as something that both your department as well as the Oversight Commission are working on or plan to work on?
Well, the 200 plus folks of minimum custody that was mentioned earlier, 44 of them were at the Saguaro Correctional Facility. We already provided the Oversight Commission this information that 34 of them have been reclassified to minimum and will be transported back on the next flight. The 194 at Halava, we will provide the commission and the Restricted Housing Working Group a breakdown of those folks, 34 of which are in minimum programming. And if we move them, their programming will be disrupted. They'd have to start all over again. We don't necessarily have every program at every facility because we don't have the staffing. With respect to some of the inmates who have minimum custody, they haven't moved on to work furlough yet because they are too far out from their expiration of their minimum term. So can we do a better job moving people through the system? Absolutely. Will we make an honest effort? Yes, we will. But there are nuances that the testimony previously provided doesn't provide.
Okay, well, I don't really want to get into a he said, she said, kind of discussion, but we do want to assist the department as well as, move more people into parole as well as into, other forms of rehabilitation in a much more accelerated way. So I hope that with some of the measures that we have before us, as well as those that will be forthcoming, that we will have an opportunity to move more rapidly than has been the case.
I think we will, Chair, because we just had Professor Janet Davidson from Charlotte University complete a study of our classification system, and we're starting the pilot project this month to see if we're moving people, can we move people through the system faster? Right now, our system is what I call time-driven, meaning that if someone, let's say, commits a greatest misconduct, they're stuck for 18 months at a certain level. However, it should be event-driven, meaning that if they got the misconduct, 6 months later, they should be reviewed, and if they otherwise qualify and show good behavior, then we should look at reclassifying them back down again. So I think that's what the new classification system will help us do and help us move people downstream faster, as Kristen indicated, because by moving people downstream faster, they have access to more programs at the lower levels of custody.
Okay,
That's
well,
correct.
I hope that through our discussions this session that we can encourage and support, both of your department as well as the Oversight Commission's efforts to move people more rapidly through the system.
Yeah, and we'll continue reporting on it. And so, this is something we've been reporting on for a few years now, and we'll continue to work with the department to make sure you guys have accurate numbers.
Okay, thank you both.
Welcome.
Turning next to, let's see, next measure on our agenda. This is Senate Bill 3108. Director Johnson, if you would like to remain, you are first up.
I will bring up Deputy Director Solomon Munoz, because that program falls under her, but I'll stay here to take questions.
Okay.
Chair. Solomon Munoz with the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. We stand up on our written testimony in strong support of Senate Bill 3108. We recognize that the $600,000 ceiling doesn't meet the needs of our growing unit, and in order to fulfill our mandate to provide victim services, we are requesting the increase in the removal of the cap.
Okay,
Thank you.
Okay, next we have Pamela Ferguson Bray testifying for Crime Victim Compensation Commission.
Yeah, I'll stand on the written testimony.
Okay, thank you. Next, Hawaii Paroling Authority, Corey Reinke.
Good afternoon. I'll stand on my written testimony.
Okay, thank you. Next we have, let's see, Dennis Dunn on Zoom, also testifying.
Good afternoon again, Chair Fukunaga. I will stand on my written testimony in support of this measure. The cap at one point in time had a relevance. At the present time, it's an obstacle to proper program funding and planning. So I would ask that you support this measure and remove the cap. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to offer comments on Senate Bill 3108? Okay, if not, we will turn to Senate Bill 3109. This measure is relating to the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. I believe first up we have we have Major General Logan or his designee on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Oh, he's in person.
Yes. Aloha, Chair. Brigadier General retired Neil Mitsuyoshi for the Adjutant General. The department stands on its written testimony and support and is prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have, let's see. Administrator Barros testifying for Haima. Good
Hello, Chair.
afternoon.
James Grouse, Administrator for Haima. We stand on our written testimony and just want to clarify that it's really a house cleaning bill for us and elevating the position of administrator.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have, let's see, oh, I'm sorry. Is there anyone else on this measure? Senate Bill 3109. Okay, if not, let's turn to Senate Bill 3140, which is relating to the State Fire Council, and on behalf of Department of Labor and Industrial Relations, Director Butai. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you. Next, we have the Office of the State Fire Marshal testifying also in support. Any other testifiers on this measure? If not, we'll turn to Senate Bill 3240, which is relating to the Military and Community Relations Office. First up for macro is Laurie Moore from DBED.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Aloha, Chair Fukunaga. Thank you for the opportunity to testify. I'm John Green, the Deputy Director of the Military and Community Relations Office. We stand on our written testimony in support. The macro is seeing an increasing need for the role we've been assigned, and that role is to build bridges between state agencies, the community, and the military. Through community engagement, research, and collaborative efforts, we continue to identify areas of mutual benefit. Macro's work is highly operational. The funding in this bill would facilitate continued support for our local small businesses who either currently support the defense industrial base or who wish to enter that economic space. It would allow us to prioritize workforce development that is essential to local defense contractors as well as the military, and provide assistance to local small businesses in obtaining and maintaining compliance with recently enacted cybersecurity requirements for all defense contractors and subcontractors. This funding would support enhanced efforts that can identify and remove barriers of entry into the defense sector for our local small businesses, identify and facilitate career opportunities for local residents that provide well-paying jobs, and continue Macro's mission of pursuing collaborative efforts that benefit both the community and the military. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Brigadier General Walter Ross for Department of Defense.
Aloha, Chair. I am Colonel Regina Kumine, and I'm representing General Ross today. And we stand on our written testimony in support of SB 3240, but I'm here for any questions, just representing the Hawaii National Guard and their support for Macro.
Thank you. Next, we have Chamber of Commerce, Sherry Menor on Zoom.
Not present on Zoom, Chair.
Okay. Is there anyone else here to testify on this measure? Okay, if not, if I could call up Mr. Green, maybe to provide some background, I think in the past, we were familiar with the Chamber of Commerce's MAC, type of initiative. And
Correct.
It seemed to be focusing more on relationships between the state of Hawaii, as well as many of the military, programs in Hawaii. But now it seems as though Macro is playing much more of a workforce development and coordination role. So if you could speak to some of the programs that you have underway and perhaps some of the recent accomplishments or, new initiatives that we would like to elaborate on.
Sure. DBED's worked with the Chamber in the past. We helped establish the Hawaii Defense Alliance, which the Chamber served as the prime contractor for that. And that effort was started in 2021 under a grant from the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation, and has since transitioned into a contract using general funds. And they're in the middle of a 24-month contract for that, focused on, again, workforce development, some business development, and cybersecurity requirements for our local small businesses so they can maintain compliance with new requirements that DoD has put out for their entire industrial base. We've recently come out with a economic fact book, kind of detailing the direct, indirect, and induced impacts of Hawaii from the military on Hawaii's economy, what that looks like from both a dollars perspective and a numbers perspective, as far as the number of people who are employed by the military, either directly or indirectly supported by the military spending here in the state. We've worked with HIEMA to identify critical infrastructure within our state. We work with the Department of Education on the public schools on military installations, which helps support schools that are primarily on military installations, but serve a diverse student population, both military dependents and those children from outside, general population. We worked on crisis communication with the military components. We're going to be doing a housing study for military's impact on our housing. There's other things I can't remember off the top of my head.
Okay, perhaps if you could provide a copy, of the most recent report to the committee, because this seems like
The economic report?
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, because this really seems like an area that we should be accelerating, in many respects, because the changes that are occurring within this arena are taking place so much more rapidly.
They are.
Than in other parts of the local economy. And so it would be a great opportunity for
Well-
both for Hawaii residents and graduates.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are, let's see, no further testifiers, we're going to take a brief recess and then we'll reconvene for decision making. Good afternoon. We're reconvening today's Public Safety and Military Affairs Committee agenda, which started with Senate Bill 3040. Members, we had a lot of testimonies on this measure and would like to defer decision-making on the bill to Friday. So if we could turn next to
Chair, Friday is what date?
oh, Friday is February 13th.
Okay. In this room.
In this room, conference room 016. Okay. And the chair has also distributed some recommendations for decision making. Next measure on today's agenda is Senate Bill 3107 relating to parole eligibility. I think there were really very good comments that were provided both by Department of Corrections as well as the Oversight Commission, and we'd like to defer this measure also to February 13th, Friday, to give the department and other participants an opportunity to respond to some of the questions and concerns that were raised.
Okay, same time.
Same time, 3 p.m. in conference room 016. Next measure on today's agenda was Senate Bill 3108. This is relating to the expenditure ceiling on the Automated Victim Information and Notification System Special Fund. It removes the 600,000 annual expenditure ceiling on the fund, and we propose to pass it with amendments, including including tech amendments as well as an effective date. Any questions?
Okay, you're voting on it?
Yes. Comments? No. Okay, if not, then Senator Inouye for the vote.
Okay, Chair's
Uh,
recommendation on SB 3108 is to pass with amendments. Okay, Chair Fukunaga,
Aye.
Senator Lee is excused. Senator Hashimoto.
Aye.
Okay, I vote aye. That's for Senator Inouye. Senator Decort.
Aye.
Okay, measure is adopted. Madam Chair.
Thank you. Next measure on today's agenda was Senate Bill 3109 relating to the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. This measure calls for establishing the administrator of HAIMA as the Deputy Director of Emergency Management within Department of Defense. We have some minor technical, non-substantive amendments, and Chair would like to recommend passing this measure with amendments as well as a effective date. Any questions or comments?
Okay.
If not,
Chair's recommendation on SB 3109 is to pass with amendments with 4 members present, anyone with reservations, any no votes. Hearing none by Madam Chair, measure is adopted.
thank you. For the next measure, Senate Bill 3140 relating to the State Fire Council. This measure replaces Department of Labor with the Department of Law Enforcement as the department responsible for administrative support for the State Fire Council. Recommendation is to pass in an unamended form. This one had no tech amendments. Any discussion?
Okay.
Questions? Not passing unamended.
Unamended, okay.
Chair votes aye.
1 second. Chair's recommendation on SB 3140 is to pass unamended with 4 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Hearing none, Madam Chair, measure is adopted.
Thank you very much. Last measure on the agenda is Senate Bill 3240 relating to the Military and Community Relations Office. This measure appropriates monies to DBED's macro office to strengthen intergovernmental coordination. Chair's recommendation is to pass with amendments and to identify the level of appropriation in the committee report, also with a effective date. Members, any questions? If not, Senator Inouye.
Okay, Chair's recommendation on SB 3240 with amendments with 4 members present, any voting with reservations, any no votes. Measure is adopted, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much, members. This concludes today's hearing. We are